Everything we know, the entire universe, might just be a simulation running inside a supercomputer. In this dream world of the imagination, anything is possible. Join us on the Simulationist podcast as we explore our culture of simulations.
Hello everybody, welcome back to the Simulationist. This is iteration 205, recorded on the 9th of August 2016. My name is Josh Trelevin, and joining me this week,
co-host extraordinaire Ryan Kirkby, and I'd like to congratulate you on not starting your iterations with 100 this time.
Well, thanks for pointing that out and dragging this whole introduction to a stop.
Well, I mean, that's the thing is like everyone has the issue of making sure to tick over. We're not machines, unless like our listeners are like far flung in the future and actually are machines that have a better memory for this sort of thing. But you know, it's nice to know that. I mean, it didn't take you too long. I mean, you only do this once a week, so it's not as though you've got a huge incentive to memorize it properly the first time, man. It's not like you're filling out forms, you know, like, you don't fill out like a dozen forms when you get home, you know, all the stuff like what your iteration number is, right?
Well, I do, I mean, when I upload the episode, I probably have to type it out 4 or 5 or 6 times.
Oh. See, that's not too many, because that's still less than one per day. So it's not like if you're at like a desk job where you had to write like the same like date on all your forms, you know, like a dozen times a day. So that's still not a bad, you know, speed to pick it up at.
All right.
And well, everyone out there, if you got people giving you hassle on that, remember, it's like you're only human, unless you are in the far-flung future and you're a machine, in which case you might want to see someone about that.
It's a good thing we ticked over in the middle of the year too. Otherwise, we'd be dealing with that plus the January problem.
Oh, well, the 2017-2016 issue. Everyone has that sort of thing. I went through a high school and university, and every year it was the same sort of thing. I still didn't get it right, you know, right off the bat, any of those years. And that's a long time to work on it. So, you did pretty good. I mean, you made that in like 5 weeks. So, yeah.
We'll see what happens next week.
Don't blow it, man. No pressure.
Yeah.
So I learned something new this week. It's not really news because it's not like new. Like a lot of people already know this stuff, but it's new to me. And I'd like to mention it, because I found it to be kind of inspirational and kind of awesome. So there's a tribe of people out in like Papua New Guinea, the Waghi tribe. I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, W-A-G-H-I.
Okay. If any of them are listening to this podcast now,
they probably are not. By and large, they're still utilizing the classic methods of humanity.
The classic methods.
Well, I mean, you know, like you could say, like, oh yeah, you know, they're like Stone Age culture and all that stuff, but it's just like that. It kind of like sounds derogatory. No, they're using classical styles because that's the thing is like they got like warrior shields and all that stuff, and they paint them up, and that's what I want to talk about.
Made out of wood, so
yeah.
The Wood Age. Yeah.
Well, you know, it's just still classic humanity sort of thing. They probably do not have Wi-Fi.
Well, I'm just saying classic. There's a word that's very similar to that, which is classical, which refers to often Iron Age.
Oh, classic antiquities,
or
yes.
Late Bronze Age, I suppose.
No, technologically, I don't think they've reached that. But yes, their shields is what I want to talk about. They paint stuff on their shields because, you know, like who wants like a barren shield, right?
They paint pictures on their shields.
Yeah,
okay.
They put stuff on there, you know, like creatures they really admire, sort of thing. You know, so you want to be seen as be fast, you know, and you put like a fast animal on there. And one thing is out of place in this regard amongst various other groups is that they paint the Phantom on there, the Golden Age, you know, hero from like World War II. They paint him on there. And the reason was, apparently, they were, you know, not, in contact with Western society until 1933. It's still been a long time they've been connected, but, you know, like, it's still very recent, you know, on a global scale, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, they spent some time with some of the soldiers that were stationed around there during World War II. And the soldiers kind of told them about, you know, like, hey, you know, we got
American
some
soldiers?
Yeah, American soldiers.
In the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's where, like, the Phantom's from. He's an American, you know, comic hero.
Oh, I thought he was from Africa.
Well, his fictional biography is from Africa.
Oh.
But he's printed and created in good old U.S. of A., as they say.
Okay.
And so, you know, like, you want to get along with, you know, like your new neighbors, at least, you know, until the end of the war sort of thing. So they had chat, you know, and it's like, you know, hey, look what we got. We got some comic books. And so, you know, they read it to him, and the Waghi tribe guys love the Phantom.
Yeah.
Because he resonates with them. He doesn't have superpowers, so he's relatable on, like, if he's fast, he's humanly fast. He's not like the Flash fast.
Right. My question is this, like, did the American GIs who came over there and brought the comic books with them, like, did they bring a bunch of other options with them? Like, here's Superman. We don't like Superman. He's too, too goody-goody for us.
Well, that's the thing. I assume there was at least more than just, like, the Phantom, Because here's the thing. The Phantom wasn't really all that popular a character. I mean, he was created by the same guy who did Mandrake the Magician, and he is still used, to this day, like, Marvel's printing out him stuff in the comics every once in a while. And I believe, back in the 90s, there was like a Protectors of the Planet Earth sort of thing, and it had a lot of, like, the guy, Mandrake and the Phantom, and other sort of, like, other heroes in there.
Yeah. Okay.
So I assume it wasn't just him. But, like, he, the Phantom, he does his heroics in the jungle. And, hey, Papua New Guinea, it's a jungle out there, right? It's the same sort of, like, so it takes, place in the same sort of area where they are. He's got relatable abilities that they find admirable.
So they brought some Batman comics, and they're like, that Gotham City, we can't really relate to that, concrete jungle so much as because we live in the actual jungle.
Yeah, and like Superman, doing stuff like like flying around in space every once in a while, kind of hard to relate to.
But like, does that mean, like, I'm not that familiar with the Phantom? Does he have like adventures like kind of Tarzan, the TV show style, like Tarzan in the jungle style adventures?
Yes, kind of like that. So
he fights poachers and...
His specific creed is against, like, piracy and evil and poachers and the whole thing. Generally, people being dicks is a nice way of thinking about it. If you're a dick, the Phantom's going to wind up, like, cracking you one across your jawline.
I mean, I guess Tarzan often found,
or shoot you, because, I mean, the Phantom uses guns, man. He does not shy away.
He has guns in the jungle.
He doesn't have, like, infinite ammo, but he's his golden age where, you only really need maybe 1 or 2 bullets, like, per adventure.
Yeah, well, I mean, people who go into the jungle usually bring a weapon of some kind, because, not just for the human elements.
And, like, what are you going to do when you beat up the bad guy, and you've won the day? I mean, you're just going to leave his gun behind? No, you take the gun with you. He's resourceful, man.
Yeah.
He's the Phantom. He's awesome.
But I'm still curious about, like, the number of adventures and, like, how much can you actually get up to in the jungle. I guess, I mean, because, well, Tarzan had a whole TV show.
Apparently they're, like, the tribesmen there that know English are still rereading the comics to everybody.
Okay.
Like, they'll go to, like, the tribe, like, the center of their little town there, and they'll like, read it out, and they'll hold up the page, and they'll show it to everyone. You're like, look what's going on here. He's beating up with a fist. But the character really resonates because, I mean, like I said, he's in the jungle like they are. He wears a mask to fight like they do. And he venerates his ancestors, which the Waghi tribe also does. So even though he is, not, like, ethnically related to them, and he's from, like, he's supposed to be taking place in Africa, he's not from the same area of the world they are, there's still enough cultural connections for them to really think, this is a guy I can really get. I understand this guy. I get him.
Right.
and that's I find that boss. And so, like, to this day, they still, like, do, like, images. Like they draw the Phantom on their shields. There's, like, tons of these wacky Phantom shield designs they drew. And it's a thing, like, because, like, as I said, he doesn't have superpowers. He fights through trickery because I think the current Phantom's like the 21st in like a long line of like legacy things. People
legacy
believe,
things.
Well, legacy hero sort of style, where like the son adopts the same identity of the Phantom.
So it's a dynasty.
A dynasty is actually a perfect word to utilize for it, I suppose. In which case, because he has survived for what looks to be multiple generations. People assume him to be the ghost that walks, is one of his terms.
Okay.
And so he uses mind games on people. He's a smart guy, but he's also quick. And so it's like, hey, I want to be smart and I want to be quick on the battlefield, man. I'm going to paint the Phantom. He's going to be my totem guy, man. He's the image I'm going to use to inspire me. He's the image I'm going to use to scare my opponents. Ooh, yeah. And so I find this to be really awesome because, as I've always said, I don't find a particular resonance with a person just because they're the same ethnicity and gender as me. I find it because of the traits they embody, who they are, not what they are. And then it's so nice to hear that on the other side of the world, like fairly unconnected from Western society, civilization and all that, there's an entire group of people that get it the same way I get it. It's not, what you are, but who you are that matters. And Phantom is awesome because of who he is, not what he is. He's not like them. He's a white dude, right?
Yeah.
And, he's on the other side of the planet. But you know what? He still has the attributes that they find heroic, and that resonates with them.
So how come Superman is more popular than the Martian Manhunter?
Better stories. I mean, I've read some of the Martian Manhunters, like Golden Age stories. You talk about like the height of wackiness of the Golden Age stuff. You read some of the stuff there. Plus, when it comes down to animals, like he got some sort of crazy space monkey sort of thing that wound up almost stealing the comic from him. Whereas Superman just has Crypto, which is an awesome like pet. It's like, oh yeah, I got a pet dog too. I can relate to that.
Oh, okay.
Plus, Superman does embody many ideals throughout multiple generations. Like if you had the ability to be Superman, wouldn't you be Superman? To be able to do so much good in the world? Wouldn't you like to do that?
Yeah. Well, what does the Martian Manhunter not? Is he not a hero?
He is a hero, but his heroics tend to be a little different in style. He'll be fighting Martians one day. He'll be saving, I think it was Apex City he was at back in the day. He'll be saving Apex City from, another asteroid falling down on him. There's a lot of asteroids falling down on Apex City. It was a big thing.
Well, I wouldn't want to emulate that. Who wants to save cities from asteroids?
Well, that's the thing. It's like when Superman, goes up against, the organized crime, and, saves, the day... like he did in the TV serials, he'd regularly fight organized crime. That's a very good thing. It is a laudable action to try and oppose organized crime.
Yeah.
In a way that's not going to get you killed, which for Superman was a very long way indeed.
Okay.
Whereas the Martian Manhunter, when he saves the city from an asteroid falling, how much connection do you have? It's if I ever see something falling out of the sky, I'm going to stop that. Because how often does something fall out of the sky that you can stop without hurting yourself, right?
If I was the Martian Manhunter, it would, every time I saw one, I could
You might
stop
be
it.
able to catch the occasional pop fly if you're walking by the right area in the right time of year. But other than that, things falling out of the sky, there's not a lot you can do that's not going to hurt you in the process. Yeah.
But you could have, a satellite system that detected them coming in, and then it could send you a message. And
congratulations, Batman. With all his high-tech gizmos and stuff in space.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. This is more towards the classic age of the Martian Manhunter. I found, I think it was Mandrake and Ostrander back in the end of the 90s told some very good stories that made the Martian Manhunter a great person rather than a superhero. His abilities, because he would shape change and he'd pretend to be this person to do a good deed that would help out there, and though he'd never get the recognition of it. It would be what he does in that persona, and it's the untold, the unsung hero style that I found was very good for his stories. Also, there's a bit of an argument about stuff that comes down to your villainous, rogues gallery. Superman's got really good villains. The Martian Manhunters kind of had to scrape by and find out whatever he could. He once got beaten and killed by a man in a suit that emits flame because he's weak against flame. Which, admittedly, everyone's a little weak against flame. We all burn pretty nice and easy.
Yeah.
He loses all his superpowers up against fire. So, yeah, he lost against a guy in a knockoff, Iron Man suit that just shoots fire out of, a dozen different little spots over his body. Kind of harsh. So, yeah, there's some things that do connect and some things that don't. But apparently the Phantom really connected with these people, which I think, ultimately, it proves a big lesson. Because, as I said... the Phantom was not hugely popular in America. It's so I guess you could consider him to be not really a successful hero.
Was he not, though?
Well, he was popular enough to, have a running comic for a while, but he wasn't, as big as,
Okay. Yeah.
He wasn't, he didn't have the popularity of Superman or Batman or, I suppose maybe even one of the biggest ones for the era of World War II was Captain America. He started off by punching out Hitler.
Yeah.
But there was some popularity for him, over in Europe. Over in Norway, they smuggled the comics into, Nazi-occupied Norway and all that stuff. So, yeah, he was decent there, but it never really stuck, whereas, over in Papua New Guinea, it really hit that chord note, and, it hit vibrational frequencies, and it really resonates.
It wasn't called Papua New Guinea back then, was it?
I have no idea.
That country only came into existence post-World... Well... I might be wrong.
I hate to say it, a lot of the places over there have changed names over the years, and I find it hard to maintain control in my head of which date changed when.
All right.
But suffice to say, it was the same area, whatever its name was. And that's the thing, is like, you can consider this to be not exactly, like a popular hero, based on the sales of where he was supposed to be. And the tribesmen over in Papua New Guinea probably aren't buying many new comics for this guy. There's just not much of a comic, like retail store out there. Although if I was Marvel, I would definitely send some new stuff to them, because you want to, like, hey, like, you are like the biggest fans. Let's make sure you guys have some new stuff to read and really enjoy it.
Okay.
Make sure you get really good stuff so that no one says like, his old stuff was better, right? That's the thing. Is like there's an entire tribe out there that venerates him as an ideal of what it's like to be as like a fighter and a hero. So in that regard, that is hugely successful. How many people are out there emulating Superman? How many people?
A lot.
Yeah, like really?
Well, what do you mean emulating?
They like using Superman as like an iconic ideal by which to orient their lives.
Lots of people, yeah.
It's helping, but not to the same degree that this guy is. I mean, like I have a Superman T-shirt I wear, but every time I wear it, I don't like go out there and try to embody the ideals of Superman all the time. When these guys put the Phantom on their shield, they go out there, they're trying to be as much like the Phantom as they can. They want to be fast, they want to be strong, they want to be agile, they want to be smart.
Okay. Yeah.
Like when I see Superman, it's like, yeah, so I know that symbol is awesome, man. I like Superman, but I don't like him as much as they like the Phantom.
Okay.
So in that regard, this Phantom character has proven to be much more successful than many heroes have been everywhere around the world. It's much more, like it has really hit, a nerve for at least one group of people. And from that regard, congratulations, that's a huge success. So the moral of the story is, you might not be able to find success under your traditional definitions and your original desire, because I'm pretty certain the syndicated comics really wanted another hugely popular superhero. But they did manage to, get something that really, helped a lot of people out and, really said, yeah, this is the kind of guy we want to be like. It's good. That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, but what's the moral of the story? What are you supposed to do?
Success comes in many forms.
Yeah.
Just because you don't find it how you were looking for it doesn't mean it's not successful in the end.
But what does that tell you about what you should be doing?
Making sure you've got something good, something that people can find that will resonate.
So make something good. Make a good, like we're talking making art. This
Yes.
is a lesson for artists.
Well, I
creators.
mean, like artists or novelists and all that
Okay.
sort of stuff. Make sure whatever you're doing, make sure it's good. Make sure
Okay.
it's got what you want in there, something that people can rally behind and like. And you might not hit the commercial success, you might not become the next Stan Lee, but you know what? If you have it and it's out there, it'll hit. Someone will find that resonance. It'll help enlighten their lives just a little bit. Congratulations, that's very successful.
So I'm still not getting the lesson part of this. What you're actually supposed to take away from it is do what you're already doing, because you're an artist.
Make sure it's good.
Yeah. I'm assuming like you're trying to make something good. That's kind of that
there
goes
are some
without
people
saying.
doing those 24-hour challenges, like write a story in 24 hours. In which case, there's something to be said about speed. That's another lesson for another day.
Okay, so do what you're already doing, and I guess don't get too discouraged or caught up in if something that you've done is not
5 years
fire.
down the road, it's not like a 3-picture movie deal, and it's not like the number 2 comic on the comic book sales list sort of thing. In this regard, comics, they can vary for whatever art you're doing.
You might just find an audience in Papua New Guinea. That's
the thing is here's the thing is Shakespeare was popular in his day, but he wasn't hugely popular like he is now. And after his his death, his works languished a little bit. They weren't put out in play they are like Shakespeare in the Park is done every year now. That wasn't really done. It was kept scholarly in folio, and I guess they used it here and there. And then it wasn't until a few hundred years later that the resurgence really came, and people really realized just how good Shakespeare's works were. So success is not measured on a short time frame every time, and sometimes success is a very long time frame.
But honestly, and Shakespeare had plenty of success, enough in his lifetime, I'm sure.
Yeah, he got good success, but short term, but he got better success long term.
Well, and I don't know how much of a lesson that is for artists, because do you I guess some artists do care about sort of that eternal legacy of like creating something great that generations after will enjoy. But I think it's important.
It'd be kind of nice to pay rent this month, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that's the thing though. Is like for those artists who are doing it because they want to say something, not just because they need to like make a buck or two.
Okay.
So if you think you have something to say, then make sure you say it as good as you can and make sure it's out there. Because if what you have has true value, it
publish,
will.
I guess.
Yeah.
So
publish. In this day and age, publish just means you could put it up online, right?
Yeah,
as long as it's got like some place that's housed where people can see it.
Make it
if you make artwork, as long as it's in a gallery or somewhere out there where people can enjoy it, eventually it'll find like a person that'll love it.
But will it? Like, this is what I'm still not connecting this dot. Like, sometimes it won't. I think sometimes people make things that really don't ever hit.
It won't, or it hasn't yet.
Well, maybe. I mean, we have an infinite number of years ahead of us in time, so maybe every single piece of art...
at least 14 billion before any big crunch thing is supposed to happen. So we got plenty of time.
So everything ever made will eventually find its... and significant
Your
audience.
Your voice might find the right ear eventually.
Might, yeah. Well, I mean, you can always be hopeful, I guess.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, because let's face it, like the life of an artist, like doing stuff is sometimes very depressing because sometimes it seems like nobody gets you. Nobody understands your works. I mean, like the Picassos and the Van Goghs, sort of thing is a lament. Nobody understands my work.
Yeah, there are unappreciated artists out there. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And but they kept making their stuff, and because of it, now there's that much more for the world to enjoy. Now that the world has become ready and listened to their stuff. In which case, for them, congratulations, they hit a really big nerve. Sometimes it's a small nerve. Sometimes it's a tribe in Papua New Guinea that really finds it's like, this is awesome. We like this.
Well, I mean, what I would say, too, about this whole thing is, yes, you're right. Okay, from the artist's perspective, or like the advice that you give to the artist is just keep doing what you're doing and don't give up hope. Just put it out there. Just finish what you're working on. Make it good and
keep trying.
Keep at it. Okay, so there's our lesson for the artist. I think also just our lesson for society is kind of maybe treat artists a little better. I don't know about like buying every crappy piece of art.
Just because you don't like the Phantom, because he isn't your type of hero, doesn't mean he can't be a really good hero for someone else. So just because, I mean, there's a lot of hate going towards some, like characters out there. It's like, oh, how dare they, make this character, I guess was it the new Iron Man is like a 15-year-old black girl. It's like, I don't like this hero. Just because it's not the hero for you doesn't mean it's not going to be a great hero for someone else. So just don't poo-poo everyone's works just because it's not your hero.
That's possibly,
Which does make me, reconsider, the Riri Williams Iron Man who's coming up. I still think they could have put out a better foot forward, show her in like an Iron Man outfit that she designed herself and more of a combat thing, as opposed to her in like a fancy dress with big old, fancy dress ball hair and Tony Stark in a 3-piece suit behind her. Like I'd like it, if you're doing Iron Man, I expect to see some action shots going on here, man. I want to see what she's like on the battlefield. I want to see her Iron Man suit. I want to see what's going on there.
Okay.
I don't want to see her fancy.
But for fans, like, I'm curious. Like, I guess you can't. It's almost an unconscious thing. Like, how do you know? How do you decide what it is that is your thing that you like to consume, basically, like as a consumer? And artists are often also consumers. So, like, what criteria are you supposed to, like, you can't suppress that sort of feeling, well, I don't like that. So, but
that doesn't mean you have to attack it. Just because it's not the hero for you doesn't mean you have to say, I hate Wolverine. He's such a brutish thing. I don't like. He's just like a crude, Cro-Magnon man that's too quick to violence.
I wouldn't say yes. Don't attack it unjustly or too much or whatever.
Just say I don't like him for these reasons. He's not my hero, not my type of hero.
You need to explore what it is about that thing that you don't like and why you don't like it,
and learn from that. Definitely, yeah. You can.
If you're a critic, for example, someone like us who does a podcast and sometimes reviews other people's artwork. It is our duty to sort of state our case for why we think something could have been done better, or
because Lord knows there's enough people out there on the internet just saying they hate things and hate things and hate things and not give any reasoning why.
Yeah,
I'm okay with you not liking it, but give a decent reason. Come on.
But I mean, it also sometimes it's entertaining just to watch some people just hate. Like, especially like here's the other thing.
That's what we have, reality TV for, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. But also, like, it's very fun to hate popular things too.
I won't lie. There is some stuff. It feels like from time to time it's like, oh, you know what I mean? This is hugely popular. I kind of liked it when it was just me that knew about it. It was like my secret little joy. That doesn't mean I dislike it, something I used to like because it got popular. It's just like, oh, now it's changed.
When they make a new like big budget version of that thing that you loved, but you think, oh well, they're selling out for the audience, for the bigger audience, so there's not going to be all that stuff that I liked that was very personal to me about this, character.
But that's the thing. It's like the Watchmen movie was, hated by Alan Moore, the writer.
Yeah.
But you know what? I thought it was an okay movie, especially the soundtrack. Oh my God, the soundtrack on that was spot on for the ages it was in. But it was a great way to lure people into the book. So just because you didn't like the movie doesn't mean you can't find somebody who said, oh yeah, the movie was okay. It's like, well, if you thought that was okay, you got to read the book. That's fantastic, man. You'll love it. So just because they change up, sort of thing, it just means the potential audience, the funnel that leads into what I do like, has now gotten even wider, gotten larger.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean...
The Netai cast is now larger than ever.
It's hard, I guess, in our modern lives we have ever expanding, we have more and more free time, just sort of society in general, so we have lots of time to consume all this new art and media that's coming out.
And congratulations, I mean, yay! That's how culture, gets defined, man. It's by what you put out that you don't need to put out.
Yeah, well, and I suppose I'm a believer in sort of a large base of consumption rather than just having, your one or two patrons who pay a lot of money for you to do a great work of art just for them. I enjoy this sort of capitalistic model.
There's a very good spot for commissions. If you like the artist and you want something very specific, then by all means definitely get a commission, because just trying to browse randomly for what you want for art and then trying to buy it up, that's going to be difficult sometimes.
Okay, so yeah, keep that around. But we have this new capitalistic model that I think is fairly 20th century or 21st century even. That we have crowdfunding and stuff like that. We have
which admittedly has some rocks and some bumps that still need to be smoothed out. So and so took the money and ran sort of issues. But by and large is really able to get a fan base what they want. So you can, you're now at an age where you can effectively custom tailor your fictions and your entertainments to your specific liking. It's beautiful in that way.
Yeah. There's
it's maybe a little narrow, because you do run the risk of always if it's not this subgenre, I don't want to pay attention to it, and because there's enough interest in that subgenre, you never have to browse fiction outside of it.
Sure, yeah, and you want a creator to have some creative control over I'm going to take you a place with this story where you don't know yet, but this is going to be awesome. And so,
hey, I'm willing to trust, the person. I figure if they're a good storyteller.
You're willing to trust anybody at all? Just a random person?
Well, if they're a person that's done something I like before, and they say, hey, I'm planning on doing something in this genre, and we're a good storyteller. Well, you know what? Let's see where you're going to go with this.
Yeah.
There's some places I've been very surprised with that third act twist. It's I didn't see that coming. Oh my God.
But yeah, I guess my point is I would this might sound radical. I'll say a radical thing.
Say it out there.
I think people should pay for and support art that they don't even consume or like. I think you should
kind of like a commons sort of thing.
Yeah.
Not everyone needs to utilize the forest, but it's kind of nice to make sure there's rangers out there making sure the forest is as foresty as possible.
Yeah, and I'm not. I guess people have done this over.
Isn't that like
time.
Public art galleries and stuff like that do that?
Well, and also just people donate to the art gallery, or donate to the museum, and the museum does what they want to do with that money.
Yeah, it's a very nice way of doing that and making sure there's a good spot to house it all too.
Yeah. And I guess that's rich people do endowments for the arts all the time, and sometimes they will say, "Well, I like this kind of thing, so I hope my money goes towards
painting more horses for me."
Yeah, pictures of horses or whatever.
This is a nice neutral example. I don't think very many people get really upset. How dare they mention pigs or horses? I hate that.
But
I hate that so much.
I kind of do want there to be sort of a wild card fund that just goes to I don't know how you would even
I think
divide
there are
it up.
tax subsidies on that sort of stuff. And as it's been proven that every dollar in taxes you put into the arts, you wind up generating like $1.2 out for. It's a really good way of helping increase both culture as well as finished products from a country, especially such as Canada.
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't necessarily going tax, although that's one way to do it.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking sort of voluntary, like I just think everybody should pitch in something to art, whether they like it or not. Of course, I guess you can pay a little bit more to things that you actually do like, because that's democratic. Sounds democratic to me. But also, like, I like the idea of just sort of randomly saying, well, somebody, just this goes to some artist, whatever they happen to create. So, yeah.
So because sort of like a Patreon, but with like a random wheel as to like who gets the money at the end of a month.
Yeah, because there's this issue of this time delay between when the artist creates something and when the artist finds their audience.
As I was mentioning with the Phantom, yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if the person doing that was able to write many Phantom stories, and then like the people in the Waghi tribe in Papua New Guinea were able to get a maximum amount of potential Phantom good stories out there.
But I guess in the case of the Phantom, like that was already in place because a comic book company financed these stories getting created.
Well, the thing is, like, they specifically asked him, hey, we need a new hero, so we came up with a new hero.
Yeah.
So he was very much a corporate creation.
Okay.
Hey, which doesn't mean corporate doesn't have soul. I mean, look, we've just been able to prove that. You managed to get some decent soul in there. You just got to find a way to, get that right vibe going on and make sure that the artists have, a little bit of, elbow room. Because they changed it last minute. He was going to be like one of them, like, city heroes, and they changed it to the jungle. It's kind of like a last-minute decision. Turned out it was a very good last-minute decision.
Okay, yeah, it worked out.
Yeah. Maybe not necessarily for him or for, the comic book company, but, like, in the greater sense of things, I think it worked out. So, woo.
All right.
So, yeah, as I said, not exactly new news, but I think it's a very good story to be told.
It's interesting, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting.
In other news that's more recent, the Suicide Squad just absolutely killed it at the box office this week.
Killed it. I like it. They didn't kill themselves. They killed it.
It wasn't a suicide in that case. It was a moiter. In which case, I mean, apparently, in terms of blockbuster releases for this month of August, the previous holder was Guardians of the Galaxy. And this beat their opening weekend box office returns by $40 million for $133-something million of profit.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's pretty darn good, man.
So a DC movie beat the last one, which was a Marvel movie.
Yeah, which is like very good news for DC because,
yeah,
like there's still some mixed reviews as to whether or not it was good or not. From what I've been told by people I know, they enjoyed it, and so I was like, ooh, because that's the thing is like a lot of these movies are surrounded by controversy. It's like, oh my goodness, you got to have watch this movie because it's got people of color and it's showing this stuff and we want to get more diversity. And other people go in there, it's like, oh, they changed up Harley Quinn. She's wearing a different outfit now. I hate it. And admittedly, I do like the classic Harley Quinn. Harlequin, like body stocking sort of style. I just thought it was a really nicely designed thing by Bruce Timm.
It works fantastically in comic books.
As to how well how well it's going to wind up working. Well, it worked well on the small screen because Harley Quinn made her debut in Batman the Animated Series.
Yeah, it works good in a cartoon.
I can understand it maybe not working quite so well there, and maybe it doesn't fit the style and the motif they're going for the characters. Like everyone else is kind of grungy street style, and there she is, in like polished spandex outfit. Yeah, doesn't really work, I suppose. If they want a bit of a grittier style, I can see her changing out an outfit to something else. Mm-hmm. But that's the thing is it seems to have really hit that audience sort of thing that enjoys what they wanted to see. They wanted to see a bunch of amoral villains doing the right thing for maybe the right reason. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie yet. But thanks to there's people say, oh, it's going to be horrible. Oh, it's going to be good. It's going to be horrible. It's going to be good. Turns out, at least financially, it's very good indeed.
Okay.
So woo. That said, I mean the Secret World of the Secret Life of Pets is still something that was 6th week and it's still in the top 10. So that one's got some good staying power there. That's nice to see.
Okay.
But yeah, the big one is the $133 million from Suicide Squad. Hopefully this will open up to more potential storylines for the various characters. I think there's a lot of good villainous characters in there that could do a story, combined with the very good return on Deadpool, with its R rating, I think there's a very good chance of a Harley Quinn solo movie now this way.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I know, right?
Good.
Everything's lining up for this to be greenlit right now. The money's there, like the fan reactions are there, and so fingers crossed we get to see like a good Harley Quinn story solo thing. Here's hoping, right? And in a third bit of news, Metroid, yay, is 30 years old as of like this week. And some fans, for like 10 years they've been laboring to try and do like a re-release of the second Metroid game. Admittedly, because of the age of the game, it's a little obtuse and kind of hard to play by most standards. So they redid it and they remade the entire game and then released it.
Like level by level?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And Nintendo squished it. Said, no, you can't do that. So now the whole thing's circulating about on the grayer parts of the internet.
Oh, so Nintendo usually is kind of the good guy, but in this case,
I mean,
I guess.
they got a lot of, ooh, that's awesome when they released Pokemon Go, and now having to be the man and squish things out, it's like, hey, we can't allow this, like, you're utilizing our intellectual property. It wound up hitting the Streisand effect, because, I mean, heck, I'm talking about it right now. I'm letting people know that if you go to certain websites, you can find it, and it's all there, and it's for free, because it's always been free. It's a fan-made thing, right? So it's like, ooh, yeah, congratulations. All you managed to do is spread the news by trying to squish it. Which is a shame. I mean, like, there is some financial, potential loss that could be accrued if Nintendo doesn't try and maintain its control of its intellectual properties. But that said, it's not like they're doing anything with Metroid anyways. They haven't released a game for it in 6 years, and the game they released is being considered by several sources as one of the worst games of the year of 2010. Not for the gameplay or anything, but for the storyline and the bad characterization of the main character, Samus.
Yeah.
As not being who everyone expects Samus to be and behave like.
So they just didn't like the cutscenes, basically.
Which apparently you couldn't skip, and there was too many of them, and stuff like that.
Alright, yeah.
So it's not like they've been rather successful with Metroid as a franchise in the last, decade or so.
Metroid, the game, is a platformer, right? Yes.
Yeah, so historically it's been like a 2D platformer. You're a space, like bounty hunter, and you're going around, you're blasting like space goo aliens, and trying to get rid of the infection sort of thing from the planet. And then, big shocking reveal at the end of the first one, your character is really a woman.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, you finish the game in under 3 hours, and you see her outside of the suit. It was infamous at its time. So, I find that to be kind of sad, because it's like, I can understand why Nintendo did what they did, but they really didn't do it in any way that's going to get them any good publicity or help them out in any regards on that one. Because they are, they're really strict on their stuff. Like, their Let's Plays that you see on YouTube, if it's a Nintendo, IP, they will squish that and, do cease and desist pretty readily.
Oh, really?
Their lawyers are very trigger-happy on that regard. So it's very controlled and curated by them, which is not always a good thing. C'est la vie. But on to better news. What have you been doing this week, Josh?
Oh, I've been up to a couple things. I got back into Dwarf Fortress once again.
Woo! Congratulations.
Currently my fortress is under attack by a bunch of goblins, so I don't know if I'm going to
like a dark force of evil, eh?
Yeah, that's what it said.
An actual proper siege, not just a skirmish. Congratulations.
Okay.
How many years in are you on this bit?
I don't know. I didn't count.
Oh.
I think a few.
Because I'm like 3 years. I'm hitting my fourth year in on my game, and I haven't seen a single goblin.
Okay, I'm probably in more than 4 years. I have over 100 dwarves.
Oh yeah, that's the thing is I changed the init files and I set myself down to 50 right now. I just wanted to make sure I had some stuff done and was able to move into my fortress area proper before I wound up getting 100, 200 dwarves in there.
Okay.
It just like there's just sometimes you get so many dwarves and it's like I can't control these guys. I got to do all this other stuff and I don't even have a proper spot to put them all.
I built bedrooms for. I realized that you could theoretically just build one giant bedroom and just put a bunch of beds in there.
Which is what I've done with my game right now. I've got I've got 16 beds in a room and 50 dwarves, and they all sleep on those 16 beds as occasion calls.
Yeah, but
they deserve better. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I went ahead and dug like an individual bedroom for every dwarf. It's only a bed and a door, and it's a 3 by 3 meter space.
Well, it's not bad.
But,
That's not bad. That's a lot more than most people give them. Most people just give them like a 1 by 3 area at most.
Yeah.
1 square for the bed, 1 square for a chest, 1 square for like the door.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to start putting chests in there too. Cause
it does help for controlling how much like stuff they have that gets littered around the fortress. Otherwise.
Yeah, I've noticed like a couple of the bedrooms get really messy, and then
that's actual dwarf personal stuff. You can check the dwarf personal profile and says, they make a mess of their personal possessions.
Okay.
It happens.
What else about it? They've had kids.
Have you hit the caverns?
I haven't hit caverns. I've dug down to about level 105.
That's not bad.
I don't know where caverns start.
Oh, well, the thing is, they'll tend to start about 20 levels below your surface, and under most circumstances, 105 shouldn't be too far deep. I said sometimes I'll dig, like really, really deep, and then it turns out I dug down like a stalactite, and so I didn't even pierce the caverns until I'm almost at the bottom of them.
Okay.
Rather than hitting the top of the cavern and just looking down, so I was like, oof. I thought I missed them for a second.
Yeah. What else can I say about Dwarf Fortress?
Have you had fun?
Fun? I don't know yet. I don't know.
It's one of those games where you can't even tell if it was really fun until it's all posthumous, eh?
I guess so, yeah. Oh, I was going to say, I just figured out today, this is something that drove me crazy. I was, trying to find how to get refined coal. I was like, I can't, I'm digging all over, I haven't hit any coal yet.
Just get yourself an ashery and turn the logs into charcoal.
Yeah, well, I figured that out. Yeah. But it's
not... But if you want refined coal, you need, lignite and all that stuff to reduce it down.
That does not sound correct. Not according to what I read. According to what I read, charcoal and any kind of coal is basically interchangeable.
Oh, well, there's some cases where you do want one over another for other personal preferences. Like for iron, to steel sort of stuff, you want something to produce one versus the other. And in which case, based on the speed of your dwarves, it's probably a lot better to have that charcoal. Because what you can do is have the ashery set up right next to your smelter. And then it's easier to carry a log to the ashery, turn it to charcoal, and just move the charcoal over than it is to have them log like an entire huge chunk of rock, turn it into your refined coal, and then utilize it.
Yeah.
So there's some interesting arguments made about the speed of these sorts of things. Plus, refining the charcoal, refining the lignite into the coal and all that stuff, refined coal, utilizes the same structure as when you're making your metal bars and turning your ores into your metals. So by having the two set up that way, you can utilize them both at the same time as opposed to having to set up the one thing twice. So yeah.
Okay.
It gets some incredibly esoteric things on the forums. And I can understand the issues. But yeah, for most intents and purposes, coal and charcoal are basically, they're the same thing for all intents.
Yeah, which was a kind of a pain, and why I'm not sure how much I like this game, because it needs things fixed up like that.
It needs the wiki, which it recommends quite heavily.
I guess it's unplayable without the wiki.
I won't say unplayable, just incredibly slow, and you're going to burn through a lot of fortresses. I lost 3 fortresses before I learned how to make a farm. All my dwarves, they wound up doing absolutely nothing except hunting for vermin so they could eat vermin so they could avoid starving to death.
Okay.
So yeah. Thanks to the wiki, man, it's just poof, and then I'm hitting light speed, man. I'm getting all sorts of things done.
Yeah, I have farms, but they're not doing so well, so I'll have to figure out how to fix that too.
There's some nice stuff you can do with underground farming in sandy soils I can talk to you about later on.
All right. So I'll say I've been enjoying somewhat.
The challenge has been fruitful and enjoyable.
Yeah. My favorite thing in Dwarf Fortress is digging out new passages. I love mining, so I guess that's probably a good thing to like in Dwarf Fortress because there will be a lot of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of digging and a lot of filling up your stuff. Put a wall in here. We didn't mean to pierce the cavern. What do you mean we got blind cave ogres coming up at us now? They're almost the size of giants, man. They're pretty dang tough.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't run into those yet.
Oh, well, you're lucky, because they'll smash through doors, too, so you got to put up, like, a wall to stop them.
And I don't know if, like, this world that I have, or this fortress that I have running now, I don't know if it's going to survive this goblin onslaught, because I have a few scattered, like, I occasionally purchase weapons from traders. And
you don't have the...
some armor and stuff, but I don't have anything formal set up.
No militia dwarves and no, like, barracks to make sure they've been training for years on end.
Yeah.
I won't lie. If it wasn't for the one guy I had on my fort trained when I brought him in, and with the fact that my first artifact wound up being a steel battle axe, which is basically Vorpal metal, I probably would not have survived the zombie yetis attacking me.
Yeah.
I would have gotten, like, I would have just holed up and I'd be doing, like, nothing underground. If it wasn't for him, like donning up a few pieces of armor and just going out and just, like, chopping yetis into confettis, like I'd have gotten, like, so little done on the surface of my map. So, yay! Congratulations that you didn't need it until this point. So, hooray! I needed it moment 1. 3 ticks into the start of the game, a zombie yeti pops on my map.
Well, I mean, you picked a bad biome, so...
On purpose, I won't lie. I picked a terrifying glacier. Yeah. Anything that dies there comes reanimated.
And one other problem I have is there's no water on my map yet, which, I mean, I have them brewing drinks, so they drink alcohol all the time.
You know, I have made a small mod where you can, get them to squeeze water out of, the various fruits and veggies you wind up growing.
Oh, that's an idea.
Yeah. Yeah. Other than that, like you're like gonna hopefully pierce. Well, unless you got an aquifer on your map, which it sounds like you don't. You'd have known if you pierced an aquifer.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to hit the caverns and hopefully find it. Like, I won't lie, I did a quick save scum and dug down, and my first cavern is completely bone dry, and my second cavern only has 3 small pools of water. So I'm hurting for water resources myself.
Yeah, I guess there's no way to dig a pool to catch rainwater or something like that?
Not yet, although it is in one of the goals of the developer.
Okay.
Get barrels to catch rainwater and stuff like that, maybe melting ice and whatnot.
Yeah. All right, so playing Dwarf Fortress, that's one of my things. The other thing is I went down to Board Game Cafe today, Interactivity in Victoria, British Columbia, down on Yates Street. Come on by. Definitely.
It's an awesome place. It's only like $5 to play their games there as long as you want. Just, you gotta, don't bring in outside food and drinks sort of thing.
That's right, yeah. So I played a couple of games. I'll just go over quickly. Battle Sheep is a game where you play with, it's a very simple game. It's a bit like Go. I would describe it like Go. You have hexagonal, like, pastures, and you have a stack of sheep tokens, and each player has their own color of sheep. Like, I was white, and Janelle was white. I was red. I was the red sheep. And
no black sheep, though, eh?
There are black sheep.
Oh, okay.
You can be.
Okay.
We just didn't.
So nobody was the black sheep.
We only had 2 players.
Okay.
I thought it was too easy to go for the black sheep joke,
okay.
But you pounced on it, so
I went right for it, man.
Red sheep, blue sheep.
1 sheep, 2 sheep.
Yeah.
Very nice. So is it like? So it's not like kind of like Risk then in that regard.
No, it's sheep. Well, no, the sheep don't fight each other, but they sort of take over space, and your goal is to have as many sheep on pastures as you can, and have more than your opponent does by the end. By the time the whole board is filled up and you can't move anywhere else. So it's not like Othello where if you get like 2 red sheep, in between, on either side of a white sheep, the white sheep turns red, nothing like that. No, okay. But it is a bit like Othello in that you sort of control space on a board. Could Othello Go, that sort of game? Yeah. Okay. But they're sheep, and so it's a nice way to make sure it's not a war game, and put sheep in there. Yeah, although it's called Battle Sheep, so. Yeah, it's a sheep level battle. I mean, how often do you hear sheep going to war, right? It turned out really fun. I mean, it was pretty fun. It's fun. It's fun. I liked it. The second game we played is a game called it's a gem making. Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue. I told you the name earlier. Yeah, I forgot it too. It's like Legend or not Legend. Splendor. It's called Splendor. Okay, we'll just edit that part out. Yeah. You in the game of Splendor, it's played mostly with cards, and the cards represent gem. Well, there's gem tokens, and there's a gem mine card, and there's different places where you can get like emeralds, diamonds, sapphires, and stuff like in different mines.
Beautiful, classic gems.
So you can buy the mine cards by paying gems for the mines, and then the mines produce more gems for you. And then one level up from that, they cost a little bit more, is the trade route cards. So you control some trade routes, purchase them with more gems, and then they produce more gems in turn. They also give you victory points. And after trade routes is markets, which are even more expensive, located in cities and whatnot. And you can also same mechanics for all of the things. They're just cards that you purchase, but it's a little bit of flavor for you there. So
very nice.
Mines, trade routes, markets, and there's an extra mechanic with like you can get certain special merchants who will show up if you have a certain amount of like 3 diamonds and 3 onyx. Then this certain merchant, he'll show up and he'll be like, "Oh, I see that you have that. Well, I'll be on your side now." So then he goes and he gives you a little bonus too.
So you sell at a better price.
He just basically gives you victory points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I should show up and help you out with victory points. Ooh.
Yeah, and so that was it's a quick game, very easy to learn, very fun. So game number 2. Game number 3, we played Guess Who, like the picture
the mystery
game.
face game, as they keep advertising it.
From Parker Brothers, or is it? I don't know. Hasbro. Are they the same company? I don't know.
It's a classic game. I mean, just find it in the game aisle of your friendly neighborhood game store.
Yeah, we played 2 versions. We played Star Wars Guess Who and the regular Guess Who. But actually, Janelle had a little twist that she got from, I think it's from the Critical Role. I don't know if we've mentioned them on the podcast either. Critical Role.
I think we've mentioned them once or twice. Yeah.
D&D. They play D&D and they record it and they upload. You can watch. It's like a YouTube thing. We've mentioned a few like it, but this one is one of the many. So Critical Role, those people, they did another thing, and they played Guess Who. But the twist on Guess Who, it's a long way to get to this, but the twist on the Guess Who that they played was that you're not allowed to ask questions about the appearance of the character. It has to be like their personality, their backstory, like basically other details about their life. So like, does this person have a pet or something like that?
Stuff you'd have to infer.
Yeah. So that was a fun little, like, I've played Guess Who, like, me and my brother used to play it all the time, so we went through, like, we were experts at, like, exactly the right questions to ask.
So it parsed down, like, half the stuff, light hair or dark hair, it's like, okay, that knocks off half the people, then from there, what's the one I can use to knock off half of those people? Yeah,
exactly. So this was, like, made the game kind of new again for me.
Oh, it's not bad. It's not bad. I think it would be very good for the company to include like a number of those sorts of twists of playing. That way, it adds more replay value, more likely to buy and play and remember the game.
Yeah. Well, and I like the Star Wars pack too, because it's just new faces to look at.
Yeah.
So it'd be neat.
Tell me, are they on the light side or the dark side of the Force?
Yeah, and I think I've played a Disney version too. Like they had all the Disney characters in there too. So yeah, there's a few different. That's another way to spice it up, is add different faces.
Which is good, but you got to be careful because if you do too much of that sort of stuff, you wind up going down the Monopoly route.
Yeah, then it's like every single
infinite number of monopolies of different like little.
I mean, you say it's a danger, but they sell quite well. They do well for themselves.
It does dilute the essence of the brand.
I suppose a little bit, yeah, but.
Who wants to play, like a game of BC-opoly where it's all stuff to do with BC? The British Columbian province.
We had Victoriaopoly, like my parents had it.
Yeah, how many times do you guys play that?
About as much as the real Monopoly, I think.
Oh, fair enough.
Before I don't know if I haven't seen it, so I think we may have lost it
or air quotes lost it.
I think what happened was some pieces got lost, and then we merged the sets, and then threw out like the property cards for one.
Fair enough.
But yeah, kept the houses and hotels and stuff, which technically is against the rules in Monopoly.
It is designed to have a limited number of them.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why people hate Monopoly, is because they play it wrong, because they play with too many houses and hotels. when you're supposed to be limited, and that's actually supposed to be a factor that keeps the game short and exciting.
Yeah, because if there's one thing I know about Monopoly, it's a short game.
Well, it's supposed to be. If you played by the exact rules as written in the box,
only 4 hours.
It's about 1 hour. It should be.
I don't know, man. Maybe you guys aren't using the same tactics that me and my family use, man. 4 hours is considered a very nice short time for Monopoly.
Well, yeah.
And the only rule change we use on that one is that free parking one.
I suspect that might not be true, but...
No, that's all we changed from the rules. There is some debate as to whether or not we always utilize once you land on the property and don't buy it, it goes up for auction.
Yeah, see, there's that.
Well, so we do it sometimes, we don't do it sometimes, and it hasn't seemed to change the speed of the game.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll call that one. I will say that the taxes go into the center. You land on free parking, get the taxes. Might help out, but I really don't think it's ever gotten to a huge amount until it's later on in the game, in which case it's still not a relatively huge amount. Because $75 is okay in the beginning, and $2,000 is about equivalent late in the game when everyone's got hotels and houses up, and you got whole monopolies owned up. We're 1/4 of the board is this one person's domain.
All right. Well, that was a weird tangent.
What's the thing? It's a lot of people do accuse it of being Monopoly's a little monotonous in that regard.
Yeah.
Well, whatever. Admittedly, it's no Settlers of Catan in that way, but you can still find a way to drag all games out depending on who you play with. So maybe you guys just play a little bit better together in that regard.
Possibly. I don't know. I don't think I've ever played Monopoly with the correct rules, though.
That said, there is the also unofficial rule. You play with a time limit, and then come the end of the time limit, you all
just count out the money.
Count out who's got the most money, and then whoever's richest at the end wins the end.
Yeah.
It does require a little bit of tax accounting stuff where you got to start writing stuff down to figure out how much money you got.
Well, the other thing we always used to do is when one person went bankrupt, we used to just keep on playing to see who actually won. When that's actually not true either. It's the first person who goes bankrupt. That's the game's over.
Yeah.
And the person who has the most money at that point is the winner.
Yeah, that still doesn't seem to shorten it down by all that much though. Because I find once one person's out of the game, it starts whittling itself down pretty quick. And then it's that matter of chance and who stays in jail the longest to avoid having to pay, for landing on someone else's property.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways,
weird
that's
tactics like that.
So yeah, that's what I did this week.
I played a lot of Minecraft myself.
Minecraft, back to Minecraft.
Nice.
Well,
I wanted to get just a little bit of a palette change out, but I didn't really do much of a difference, and I wound up finding myself this would be a lot easier if I had 49 friends to help me. So I kept every time I loaded the game up, I'd play for about a half hour, and then I'd wind up going right back to Dwarf Fortress.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So yeah, as much as I played on Minecraft, I wound up doing Dwarf Fortress even more.
Yeah.
Although I was able to play both of them at some points, just let the dwarves do their dwarfy thing for a little bit.
Is there not a Minecraft mod which gives you sort of similar, dwarves who can do tasks like that?
There is something similar to it, but it still just doesn't feel the same. And in the end, I wound up I kind of like the harsher, edged feel of Dwarf Fortress.
Okay, well, good.
At least at this point, something my moods change.
Yeah.
But the big thing about me this week was the movie I watched with my daughter, Beauty and the Beast. The classic, Disney film. It wasn't the same movie as when I watched it in the theaters when I was a young lad. I could not find, the villain as a character in it. It was supposed to be, Gaston.
You think Gaston was the villain? Was intended to be the
villain? He was supposed to be the villain in the first one. I mean, because let's face it, he's a jerk. He's disrespecting books. And then he leads a bunch of people to attack a castle.
Yeah.
Which, generally not exactly good person things all told.
Well,
right?
if it's an evil castle controlled by a beast.
Admittedly, it did look that way, but it's not like the beast was doing anything against you, and it's not like it was really an evil castle, just a crazy enchanted one.
Okay.
But okay, now here's the thing. It's I can't call him the villain, because nobody in town besides Belle said that anything he did was wrong. They went along with it. So if you are let's imagine you're living, Josh, your life.
Okay.
And everyone's saying that what you're doing is right, except for this one other person. Who are you going to believe? Everyone in your life except one person, or one person except everyone else in your life?
Well, I mean, isn't this a lesson for the ages that you should go with the morality that actually is correct, no matter how many people are saying?
But how's he supposed to know? What's the correct morality?
Well, you search inside your heart. You should.
Inside his heart was shooting animals and using them as interior decorating. That's what he was doing.
Okay.
That was what was right in his heart.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, but like I don't know if. Yeah, so you're saying you don't blame him for just he's like almost like an animal or force of nature.
He's not like the villain so much as he is the result of the town.
Yeah.
If it wasn't Gaston, it'd have been somebody else. And maybe because Gaston was such a manly paragon of manliness, it would have been like 2 or 3 sub-Gastons.
For our listeners who don't have the
I
visual...
was flexing like mad crazy, showing off my ripped muscles.
Yeah, Ryan is flexing his arms right now as if he is Gaston.
Yes, well, that's the thing, though. So, like, Gaston was very much, you say what you want from being a bad guy. He was very much a very a typical specimen, a wonderful specimen of, the paragon virtues of manliness.
Yeah.
For better or worse.
All right.
And so, like I imagine he was, preventing other people a lot like him from taking prominence. So without him in the picture, there likely would have been like 3 little mini Gaston ish characters all fighting amongst each other. So he was kind of like a unifying force amongst the town.
Okay.
It's like, why go with this guy? Look at him, he's scraggly and scrawny. Let's follow this dude. Look at him, he is ripped. He's, as he quotes in the song, roughly the size of a barge.
Okay.
Eats a lot of eggs. It's good for him.
Yeah. Well, a point I made before we did the podcast, but a point I wanted to make about Beauty and the Beast is the conceit of that tale is that it's supposed to turn the traditional fairy tale on its head. In that, in this case,
good-looking hero defeats a monstrous creature, wins the lady's heart.
Yeah, in this case, the monster is the good guy. The Beast turns out to be the hero or the good guy of the story, and the town hero, or maybe our paladin or our, the big fighter guy.
Who would normally, in a traditional one, be the hero who saves the imprisoned lady from, the Beast.
He's kind of a bad guy in this. Although, as you're saying, he's not really a bad guy. He's just doing what guys do.
He's like the result of the condition of the town.
Although, you can say that sort of thing about wolves or sharks or
there's wolves in there too, man. They were attacking the guy the Belle's father on a horse.
Are the wolves bad guys? Are they evil?
Well, they are pretty malevolent in the regards that they actively go after a person on a horse. That's not they must have been pretty starving because that's not something that usually happens.
Okay.
So like Gaston, they're definitely not a good person sort of thing. But I don't consider them to be a villain either.
Okay.
Just an antagonistic force.
I guess we're still almost on the same topic as last week about flavors of villainy, because I think you can have a villain, I'm doing air quotes, villain, who's not even purposely evil, just basically doing what sharks do, and that's, as from the point of view of the hero, they're still an obstacle, they're an antagonist or whatever you call them, and you can say, oh, that's a villain because they're, well, the word villain, we haven't gone into that too much, but the word villain originally meant peasant or commoner. Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty harsh to wind up using there. We're going to use it in a more modern sense.
Well, it means
malefactor
or.
Well, the redneck town, that winds up assaulting the castle was very much made up of the peasants. So they are the villains in that regard.
Yeah.
But for me, the villain was the enchantress mentioned at the very beginning of the story.
Yeah.
It's said in one of the songs that the people in the castle have been under this spell for 10 years.
Okay.
And that the Beast had to find love before his 21st birthday, which means he would have been about 11 years old at the time of the curse.
When he got changed into a beast.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I guess maybe it's no wonder he wound up becoming so dang bestial. I mean,
that was his entire formative.
That was his entire
years.
puberty, man.
That was puberty.
Yeah.
Although, now that you mentioned it, turning into a beast is kind of a good metaphor for puberty.
Yeah. Well, it didn't do much for his cultural,
grows hair all over him. Yeah.
But okay, I don't think that's a pretty good thing to hold up against him. It's let me in. No, you're a poor person. Oh, I can pay you with this one beautiful rose.
Back up a second. So this is the scenario of.
Yeah. Okay. The scenario is the enchantress poses as an old lady on a rainy day or night who comes by and seeks some lodging against the rain and the storm going on outside. And the guy goes, no, the kid, and I can't even call him a man, for the beast, the princeling. winds up saying like,
Okay.
no, like,
The
I don't want
lordling.
you- yeah, I'll call him lordling. It basically says like, no, you're ugly and I don't want you in my beautiful castle.
Okay.
And she says, oh, but I can pay, like with a beautiful rose I have here. And he's like, no, bugger off. And so she curses him. So I'm willing to buy the curse in that the ugliness of his soul was made manifest on the flesh.
I wonder, is it because he has an ugly soul, or do you think maybe he was like, oh, my parents are going to kill me if I, let this...
What parents? There were no parents mentioned in the entire movie.
So he didn't have parents.
By the age of 11, apparently, no, he had lost both his parents.
Oh, okay.
So, geez, I don't know, maybe there's a good reason he's a little hard-hearted against strangers. There seems to be some backstory there no one extolled upon.
Yeah.
So I am willing to buy at least the curse affecting him. Because, there used to be, some very heavy-set rules about, taking in, guests and being a good host.
The rules that you should take in if somebody is in need, you should take them in.
You do not let a person, stay outside on a stormy night where they could wind up meeting their own death.
Because, depending on the castle, they might have a special rule about not taking in strangers if they're in a time of mistrust or, rebellion or something like that.
He didn't even, give her a spot where the horses were for the night, man. Come on. Didn't even let her have a stable.
Well, I'm not saying is a good thing, but we don't know all the factors. And also, you're saying it only affected the boy.
Well, that's the thing. I'm okay with that
been.
aspect of the curse.
Yeah.
But the curse also affected everyone else in the castle and turned them into somewhat hilarious versions of themselves as a household item.
Well, but
Cogsworth became a clock. Lumiere became a
all the servants became. But here's
Mrs. Potts became a kettle, and her son Chip became a chipped, a piece of the china.
My counter argument to that is these people are responsible for maybe they can't control the Lord, but that's on them too. The lordling.
How much control does the chef and
because he's a kid, they should be the ones who guide him and teach him how to be a
You're
good...
fired. Get someone new who won't do that.
They should be they can
not
be
all of them. Stuff like Cogsworth, and I think maybe Lumiere wound up having positions of importance enough that he couldn't immediately fire them.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying because.
But the maid's in no position to say no to him. How dare you do that? Let this poor lady in. No, that just means there's two ladies outside in the rain.
Well, I don't know if our Lord is that kind of, our Lordling is that kind of tyrant.
Apparently, he's the kind of guy who wasn't letting a lady on a rainy night.
This is the dysfunction of the castle, is that the servants can't coordinate together enough to be able to control this kid or give him some good guidance about how to be a good king or
and
whatever.
And then the curse doesn't even do anything to rectify that. It turns them into little items. You're oh, look at me, I'm a tiny clock, or look at me, I'm a fancy little candle. He turns into a large, evil, rampaging beast throughout the next decade. And
that's the thing. Yeah.
He is pretty darn evil. His tantrums are pretty darn nasty. I'll give him that for villainous points for this hero.
Yeah, but that almost makes direct sense in the terms that they're neglecting their duty of raising this king and teaching him how to be a good noble and all like that. Therefore, he gets out of control. He becomes this beast.
But that's not everybody in the castle's concern. The maid, that's not her concern. It's not the chef's concern to do that. The chef has to make the food for everyone. He's kind of busy.
I think it's
why does he get turned into a large
their
stove?
Concern. It's not fair. It's not fair to entirely blame them, but at the same time, I think
it was disproportionate retribution for them, at least,
to turn them into.
They should have gotten
items.
Half beast sort of transformations or half items sort of things, not oh boy, by the way, now I'm 1 foot tall and I'm a clock.
Well, that doesn't sound. At least he's not, in pain or being tortured.
Well, I do see a couple, gears falling out of him as time goes on. Apparently, it doesn't hurt him, but it's still kind of
still gets old.
It's the equivalent of his guts, right? And it's whoa, you better put that back in the right order before you turn back into human. Otherwise, you're gonna have your spleen leading into your heart.
I feel like though that's also an appropriate punishment for them because they were acting like part of the furniture. Like they weren't enacting any will on the king. They weren't trying to steer him in any kind of direction of helping humanity.
I won't lie. It's not. It is very poetic.
They might as well have been the furniture. So
it's very poetic in that change. I won't lie on that one. But it does seem much more disproportionate than him refusing the whole thing, and then they get cursed for it.
Yeah.
It seems much more like harsh on them because I mean he turns it like this is a guy who's able to like fight off like a bunch of wolves with a little bit of a wound sort of thing, but he was able to fight a pack of wolves. That's pretty darn powerful. It's like whoa, that's awesome. Yeah, whoa, yeah, who? That's just congratulations, you got power. And so it's like like what happens to them? It's like oh boy, now look at me. If I kind of my nose the right way, I can make my hands turn into flaming candle hands. Woo!
It's like a superpower.
Yeah, if you're like lighting a match is a superpower.
But here's the thing, though, like because I think their behavior, I think they still needed to have a correction in their behavior.
Oh, I won't deny that, but I do think it was very much not the right way, and it was much harsher on them than the actual lordling himself, who should have suffered the most out of it.
Well, possibly. I guess, I mean, we're talking a medieval sort of attitude or in terms of where the Lord is the state, or this whole absolute power kind of thing, where no matter what you do to the lordling, he's still going to be he's basically going to be fine. Like you can't really hurt him, short of basically killing him. I don't know. I suppose you could torture him or something like that.
As this what does qualify as like 10 years of torture of his soul.
But I feel like it makes sense that sort of it's his estate that sort of suffers and pays the price.
And don't get me wrong, I'm okay with the estate suffering. The horse got turned into a carriage. That doesn't seem right at all. What role did the horse play in making sure he was brought up right?
Well, maybe the horse was punishment for the groom or the guy who was taking care of the horse. I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of curse going around that wasn't properly justified. I think it could have, like don't get me wrong, I think the people, everyone in the whole castle, should have gotten at least some curse for being like part and parcel to this thing. But I think the servants got much more against them than the beast did. And in that regard, the true villain of the story was this wanton enchantress who just casts his curses too willy-nilly for proper regard.
I think the other
she
reason
did give a caveat, but it's not really a great caveat. Like coming on back. It's like, hey, you got a decade to find love.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing about this is yes, they got cursed too, like the people of the house, but also like I don't know if it was necessarily in their power to overcome this idea, because maybe what you need to overcome sort of a culture of complacency and just not letting people in because you have your own thing going. The only way to overcome that would be to
aristocracy.
Insert some leadership and have like a true leader take hold. And I guess the way to make a true leader is by having somebody find true love or something.
I won't lie. Difficult trials do make a strong leader. That's something I will grant on that one. And this probably made him quite a wise ruler in the end.
Yeah.
But here brings up the other thing.
Okay.
Is in one of the songs they mentioned they've been cursed for 10 years, as I said. Now, the neighboring town completely has forgotten about the town where Belle is living in, sort of thing. It's about about a half day's ride, which on medieval scale sort of stuff, before you had your car was not a bad distance.
What's that? Sydney from here?
Yeah,
Victoria to Sydney.
Yeah, and after 10 years, everyone has completely forgotten that there's this castle in this haunted end of the woods. In this neglected end of the thing, like this is where their lord was, man. This would be like the capital regional buildings sort of thing, all taking over a curse, and just we'll go with like a Sleeping Beauty sort of thing. It all gets covered over with vines, and then in the year 2026, 10 years after, we're like, oh, that's right, there was a whole bunch of people in that building, and something happened to them, and now it's all a bunch of overgrown vines. That's right, I completely forgotten about that.
Yeah, well, I mean. Yeah, you don't actually forget, but it does.
Nobody
slip from daily
remembers
mind.
that this sort of thing happened. This is a pretty big thing.
Okay.
But
how do you know it wasn't just magic or another aspect of the curse?
Well, the thing is, like, in my mind, I'm putting in some headcanon in here. I think this enchantress cursed the town that Belle and Gaston are from. They seem incredibly xenophobic. The concept of a lady who knows how to read is seen as weird and crazy, just like her inventor dad who tries to do different things. So anybody who doesn't fit in with a very, very limited view of what should and shouldn't be winds up getting ostracized and considered to be weird. And apparently they completely forget about everything that's going on outside of their village. It's a very small provincial town, as Belle sings about. She's there's something more beyond this provincial town existence of hers. And so it winds up being like in my head canon that this enchantress has hit the town. Yeah, congratulations, they got rid of the curse affecting the lord of whatever little realm of France they're in. That's good, woo. But there's still a long way done. There is much more to be done here. There's at least one more curse sitting out there.
So you're saying they were already kind of xenophobic and yokely, and then she cursed them because of that.
Probably for the same sort of attitude of the Lord, like the Beast when he was 11.
Yeah.
For being xenophobic. But no, you're not someone I know. You're not part of my household.
I will say,
keep away with you.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of like the same attitude that the people in the town have against anyone who's not fitting in with their little narrow-minded view. That's very narrow-minded, even for medieval peasantry.
But it also sounds like the kind of people who probably wouldn't mind forgetting. Like, they don't like books, so obviously they're not that interested in things like history.
Well, they must have some like for books. I mean, there's a bookstore in town.
Okay.
There's at least one large shelf full of books.
Yeah.
Where the bookseller is at least doing well enough that instead of just borrowing a book that Belle likes to read for the third time, he gives it to her.
Okay.
So, there's something going on for literacy there, but not a woman reading. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, yeah.
How weird is that?
Did that come up in it?
It's part of the songs, yeah. This is one of the initial songs. Everyone's singing about how weird it is that Belle likes to read. It's a very crazy little town going on there.
Yeah.
So, I would love to see a sequel where Gaston did not die, because it's Disney death. He winds up falling off the side of a castle. But there's a stream at the very far deep down, bottom where he winds up falling. So, conceivably he doesn't die. He ain't feeling well the next day. He's probably going to have one big old bruise all over his entire, from his heels to the back of his head. He's probably one big bruise the next day if he survived it. But he's a tough guy. I can see him surviving it. And I want to see him going up against the enchantress who did this and freeing the town and realizing his true heroic potential. Because once he's separated from the town, once he sees what things are like without, the whole thing going on, because he still had the magic mirror that lets him see things. So once he gets that outsider perspective, once he's no longer a product of the town, I could see him definitely growing as a character.
Sure.
I think there's a very good heroic story coming about for Gaston that just needs to be done.
Yeah.
As he finds this enchantress and just finally gives her the what for.
Honestly, I think it would be entertaining just to watch some prequels of Gaston, like young Gaston and what adventures he gets up to. I think he'd probably be a decent hero. I mean, he's probably
you remove the beast from
his
his equations, and he does wind up being a very heroic sort of person from his perspective and from the perspective of the town. I could see him fighting off boars and all that sort of thing, saving other villagers from maybe that's why there's those wolves not too far away sort of thing, and why they're not trying to go in town, because they will attack a dude on a horse, but they're not going where Gaston is.
Yeah.
You know why? Because he took out the last three that tried to go too close to his town.
Okay.
So Gaston versus the Wolves is a prequel. I could dig that too, man.
Yeah.
So for me, it comes back. Gaston is not a villain. Gaston is just a hero that hasn't had his opportunity yet.
I see. Couldn't you say that about? Almost. You could make a story like that about any villain.
You look at Gaston at the start of at any point in his story arc on that one, and you look at the Beast at the very beginning of the story. There's not too much of a difference. They're both very controlling, very highly masculine figures. Gaston wants to entrap Belle in the confines of marriage, whereas the Beast makes her a prisoner in his castle. There's a very good allegory between the two of them. There's a nice parallel hidden on there. The only difference being is that the Beast has greater financial resources in that regard. He's got a mansion, whereas Gaston wants 7 kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. As part of something he mentions on there.
Okay.
But yeah, if it could like Gaston, it seems he doesn't have too much of a literacy for skill, as he is like he's trying to look at a book, he winds up flipping it upside down. And, there's no pictures in here, so he's just not literate. He doesn't have the upbringing that the Beast did. The Beast had his own magnificently huge library, just amazingly high, like dangerously high stacks of books, man. Like I've seen like some of these shelves of books, and like you need not just a ladder to get up there, but a very long ladder. If you have vertigo, you are not reading anything above the first, above the first, I'll say quarter of that shelf. Everything else is just going to be too high for you. It's huge books, magnificently appointed library. Who knows? Maybe some of the books are alive. I don't. They didn't show too much time for that library there. But Gaston didn't have that sort of upbringing, so he's the peasantry in that. He doesn't get the breaks that the Beast did.
Okay. Yeah.
So like in that regard, I see him as being almost a little tragic. He's the same character. He just didn't get the same breaks. He didn't get the castle. He didn't get the richness of being a lord and thus being able to tax people. He didn't get the at least well written upbringing of a magnificently personal library.
Yeah, I mean he's better off than a lot of the people in the village. I mean in terms of who's the best off, maybe he's second best after the Beast.
Oh yeah.
Because he's got a lot going for him.
Yeah,
but, not as much as the Beast.
There's the three blonde triplet barmaids. They are swooning over him, and you know what? I'm confident enough to admit in my own self who I am. Dude's pretty handsome.
Yes.
He is pretty darn handsome. He's got the muscles in all the right spots. He's got the classic chin line going on there.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I can understand why I guess I can understand why Belle doesn't like him, because he's kind of like a bit of a boorish individual.
Yeah, his personality is not the best.
But she should at least be able to appreciate the sight of Gaston, right? Well, take it over to the story with Brave. Is you got the lady, it's like, oh, she's going to be meeting the kids of the clan sort of thing. It's time for her to find her betrothed, and she really doesn't want to get married. Look at this person here, ugh. And then look at young Dingwall, and they do the joke where they got this magnificent Conan barbarian sort of guy, and then oh no, it turns out the actual young wee Dingwall's the kid behind him that's completely obscured by his massive physique.
Yeah.
But that's the thing, is the girl was just like, oh, I don't like this guy, and then it's like, here's the young Dingwall, and it's effectively Conan. And then all of a sudden she's paying attention. She might not like the concept of getting married, but she can definitely appreciate the male specimen that's presented to her.
So her problem was with the lack of options, not as much
lack
as
of quality
she never
options.
wanted to marry.
Each one of the prospective suitors had issues, sort of thing. They were good people in the end. They all wind up proving at least some part of their worth by the end of that story. So yay, shows the good side of the bad, situation. So why can't Belle at least, it's like, well, at least I'm not marrying, his lackey guy, who's half his size and, classic cartoonish Disney animated, right? His nose is different color, he's all, kind of made there for jokes and stuff like that. He's all, kind of googly-eyed and gap-toothed sort of style. So, at least she ain't marrying him, man. At least she ain't marrying Gaston's lackey, She gets to at least marry, Gaston, potentially.
Yeah, but if she doesn't like him, she doesn't like him.
No. But she didn't like the Beast at the beginning either. She managed to tame the Beast. She managed to bring out the noble soul within. She couldn't do that with Gaston? He's too much of a challenge for her?
I think she could have. And I imagine, let's imagine, what would have happened if that town had just...
If the curse had just done, one of those things where you only pop in every 100 years instead of, sort of thing.
Well, yeah, give it another 10 years.
Yeah, the Brigadoon-style curse, as I believe the thing is called.
I think, Gaston might wear her down and might convince her to...
He might wear her down, but she will refine him to a smooth edge.
Yeah, there'll be... is that not what marriage is? A little bit of,
Well, I don't know about you, but I realized marriage was the right thing for me when I realized it would not subtract anything from my life, only add to it.
Yeah.
It was like opening a door rather than, having to subdivide a room.
Yeah. Okay.
So, hopefully everyone out there who's married has that sort of wonderful marriage where it just adds more to their life without, having to, and I got to become this refined person. I got to wear, a button-up shirt every day, darn me, I have to be more refined now.
Yeah.
But yeah, I without the Beast, Gaston probably would have wound up having the same sort of, growth as a character. He just never got that break either. The Beast gets all the darn breaks in this story, and winds up, becoming better for them in the end. Whereas Gaston, just winds up being Gaston. The chump of the story.
Yeah.
Although he does get a song to his own, and that's pretty boss. It's a song all about him, too. So it just kind of shows self-centered nature, but I think there's a lot to be told about this story, and the real villain was never addressed.
Well, I mean, I don't know if I would punish that enchantress. Don't you think...
She's got to get some comeuppance. She's got to get
Really?
she's got to get a curse back on her. I want to see her have to deal with one of her own style.
But didn't
curses.
it all kind of work out in the end, and so it's kind of okay?
After a decade, those poor servants had to be stuck. That maid had to be stuck as a feather duster for 10 years.
Yeah.
Do you want to be a feather duster for 10 years, Josh? Do you want to be a moving candle for 10 years? Do you want to be a clock for 10 years?
No, but then I would not let my prince get out of control.
Well, congratulations. Now you're outside in the storm with the wicked lady. That turns out to be an enchantress. I don't know. Maybe we wind up becoming her lackey. There's an extra fold in the story. The one person that winds up saying, no and tries to get in, gets booted out. He winds up becoming like the henchman to the enchantress. There, you've just created another new character for the story, Josh. There you go.
Yeah.
But here's the other bit that gets me is, in that day and age, where do you get your hired servants? From the neighboring areas.
I suppose so. I mean,
Unless
in theory, you could import them like
Those
fancy French valet.
They're all French.
Okay.
All you have to do is make your valet fancy, and then because you're in France, they're fancy French valet.
Okay.
But here's the thing, though, is that those imports for the hired hands would likely be only the highest end of things.
Okay.
You don't need to hire Swiss,
I guess your kitchen staff and your
maybe a
horse
chef.
shovel guy.
Yeah.
Probably going to come from the nearby town. Yeah.
Well, definitely the maids sort of thing. You don't need Swiss maids, but you could maybe see an argument for a Swiss chef. If you have penchant for Swiss style food, yeah, definitely get yourself a Swiss chef. Yeah. Hire the best, right? Because you're going to be entertaining other nobles and stuff. You got to make sure there's good food going on. So that could be, I could say for that one. Where's the neighboring town? Well, it just happens to be where Belle and Gaston and all that are growing up.
Yeah.
So when the peasants attack the castle, there's a very good chance they're attacking their relatives.
Good chance. Not necessarily 100%.
When Gaston's henchman, Le Faux,
yeah.
is attacking Lumiere, it could wind up being that's his cousin. He's going to threaten to burn his cousin and make him melt.
Yeah, but don't you think it's maybe the curse just made them forget, so they don't remember their relatives? Which
makes it all the more tragic.
Yeah,
it is
pretty tragic.
Yeah, what better way to realize the horrors of being such an insular society than suddenly oh no, I don't even remember I have a cousin. Whatever, man.
Yeah.
Heck, for all we really know, I mean where's Belle's mom? Maybe she's working in the castle. And now nobody remembers it until they change back. Maybe not even then. Maybe you got to get the curse off on the town before anyone remembers that they're even related. Maybe Belle's mom is there.
I want to ask, did that not happen? Was that not a scene at the end of when they all get transformed back into humans?
No, it just shows all the transformed things as real people.
Yeah, but they don't cousin,
no,
I think that
nothing.
That would have been a good
The last
scene
time
to
you
add.
see any of the townsfolk is when they're getting kicked out of the castle for their attempted conquest thereof.
Yeah.
That's the last you see the town, man. Once they're gone, man, it's all stick to the castle household.
Because, going back and rewriting the Beauty and the Beast, I think that would be a good scene to add. Just have, Lumiere, Le Faux, I thought you were dead, or I thought you had gone missing, but turns out you were a candlestick.
But that's a great way of adding in the curse on the town for the sequel, for a really good sequel. I think it might wind up being.
That'd be good.
When they suddenly realize they've been attacking their own, comrade, their own kin, because they perceive them as something different because of the curse of their insular nature, their xenophobic style. Anything that's not like them can't be them. And so once they realize, oh my God, you were my brother, Lumiere, Le Faux, my brother.
And they hug and do the French thing.
Yeah, well, I suppose there'd be a chance for a celebration. So there'd probably be some music starting up about that point in the scene. Everyone they start dancing, and then Lumiere goes off to find that feather duster turned maid once again. They were canoodling, even as household instruments behind the curtains,
Yeah.
You remember that,
Yeah.
So they go back there.
And that's why you say, oh, it's so terrible that they got turned into. Well, apparently they can still engage in certain kinds of intimacy.
Well, they had lips, so first base is an option. Beyond that, I mean, there's not really that much.
But they seem to be having fun.
They managed to make fun out of a bad situation.
Okay.
Don't forget that like the Count of Monte Cristo managed to make fun of a prison sentence by imagining the horrible ways he would torture the people that put him in prison.
Okay.
That doesn't make it a fun prison sentence, does it? You just managed to make the best of a bad sentence.
I don't think that's
best
a direct.
In air quotes there.
Yeah, I don't think that's a direct analogy. I think because at least like Count of Monte Cristo, he's kind of alone, so he's with his own thoughts. But at least these people, they're with other people, so they can still be social.
Yeah. They managed to do some fun stuff there.
And I'm curious also.
They don't age though.
Yeah, I was going to ask
when he
whether
turns
they age.
back, is still a kid that doesn't seem to be the age of what a prince would have been at age 11. So I imagine Chip was a kid. Chip was a kid, and now if he winds up, well, let's say Chip was young. We'll say he was 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
How much control would he have had over the 11-year-old lordling? If he says anything out of line, not only is he kicked out of this wonderful mansion, castle he's living in, which is pretty darn good to be living in at that age and that time, but his mom and all his brothers and sisters get kicked out. He has negative say. If he tries anything, he gets all of them booted out, potentially.
Well, I'll give you that the children are a little bit,
and
the gray zone.
As a bonus sort of thing, figure this. When Chip changes back, he's still like the 7-year-old kid. The Beast is now 21 years old as a grown man. Yeah. This kid has had his development delayed by a decade because of this curse. That Enchantress needs some comeuppance.
Maybe. Although, I mean...
Can you not see the harshness she has inflicted upon these people? It's far beyond
not so bad because they're going to have that 10 years added on to the rest of their life, hopefully.
Well, I mean...
So they'll still have it.
Yeah, but he had to spend like 10 years as a chipped cup because his name was Chip. And he was the dog. He was the...
Or he had a missing tooth.
Yeah, he had a bit of a gap tooth thing at least going on.
Gap tooth?
Gap tooth or missing tooth, it was kind of hard to tell from the scene.
Yeah. But it's that age where you lose your front teeth.
Yeah. Well, heck, who knows what was going on with, like he's got brothers and sisters. Maybe they were roughhousing. He loses a kid's tooth a little early.
Yeah.
It happens. But yeah, because he was like a kid named Chip, and he wound up being the son of Mrs. Potts. And who knows, maybe Mr. Potts is still in the town. They never said anything about Mr. Potts. Maybe Mr. Potts is in the town, doesn't even remember that he has a wife and kids.
And he got remarried and had another family.
I know. Can you imagine how horrible this is?
That's pretty awful.
Wait, what's Belle's surname? Maybe the inventor husband is Mr. Potts all along. Well, it turns out Belle has got brothers and sisters galore there. She just didn't know because of the curse on the town. She can't even remember, man. All of a sudden, bam!
It's possible.
Yeah. Oh, except if you're doing a sequel, you wouldn't... Like, Angela Lansbury's passed on now, so you can't have her reprise the role of Mrs. Potts.
Okay.
That'd be a little hard. I suppose maybe people would forgive, right? Would you forgive that you couldn't have the original voice actress do it because she has since passed on since the long time between the two movies?
I'm tempted to say no, scrap the whole thing. No.
But how's that for a twist? Turns out, Chip is being her brother the entire time.
Chip could be Belle's brother.
Yeah. She's Chip. She's Belle Potts.
I don't know if we need to invent all that. Like, it's
it
possible, but
Because, like, where's Belle's mom? Where's Mr. Potts? I see two pieces of a puzzle that could fit together. I'm not saying they do, but I'm saying they could.
I feel like
I'm saying there's
in
enough
storytelling in general, if they leave out a detail, it's probably not important.
Just one of those many missing Disney parents.
Yeah. If they leave out a detail...
Although, credit to Disney, they are doing good at that as time goes on. They're getting better and better, making sure people have, like, family, connected in somehow and how it all goes together.
Yeah, I know, like, in the conspiracy theory mindset that we often will get into, we'll say, like, if there's a detail left out, then we are free to fill it however we want. We can say, oh, that's someone's brother, that's someone's father, or maybe that's the same person. But in storytelling in general, where you're sort of willingly suspending your disbelief, you're willing to say, well, I guess that detail wasn't important. That's
it could just be that
us.
Mr. Potts has since passed on.
Well, that would be more reasonable. So.
But that said, I mean, like, figure this. Gaston breaks the curse on the town. The people realize that. Isn't that a good way of making amends to Belle for his horrible actions? I found your mom and your, like the 7 siblings you didn't even know you had.
Yes, but then what? Like, who does he marry if he?
Maybe
makes
Gaston
amends?
doesn't marry anybody. Maybe Gaston realizes that the provincial town was too small for him as well. He has to move on. He's got to go other places. He's got other things he needs. He has to be the hero elsewhere.
Okay.
He winds up just
Well,
like,
all right.
the town's not good for him. If he
And
goes
he gets
back,
a princess in another castle.
maybe, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just
He never
finds
does.
more of himself.
Never finds love.
Oh, who knows? Maybe like that's up for like this is just the beginning of his heroic story in this sequel. Maybe he goes off to do other things, and he can't go back to the town. Things will just go back to the way they were. He's a very charismatic individual. He will pull the town back into its old shape if he's still there, so he can't go back in town. Maybe
because
he
that's
just
the
wanders
thing.
off with a fresh horse.
The town has a new leader, which is the Beast. So presumably the Beast is going to fill that void of like being a
just
direction
and noble leader as he should have been. From
showing
the
how an example, showing how the town should be behaving.
But if Gaston goes back that way, it's going to wind up being a power struggle because people are going to remember how things have been, and they're going to follow Gaston maybe out of reflex.
It might be a power struggle, but
it's best to not have Gaston be back in there. If the town's doing well, it could maybe Gaston could realize it's doing well, and it would be better if he wasn't there.
It's possible. I think Gaston might just be a decent second in command, like Captain
Captain
like
Riker. Not bad. Okay, I can dig that. I can see that. Because
Riker was kind of a jerk.
He had his roguish, jerky moments.
He was arrogant, like a lot. Riker is a lot like Gaston.
With a little bit more culture thrown in, but yeah, okay, I can see that. I can see him growing into a Riker-like character, where he's still kind of like a not 100% clean and polished sort of thing, but he's a better person than he was. So I'm willing to buy that as another end scene on this sequel we're effectively making for Beauty and the Beast.
And then he goes and joins the Starship Enterprise.
No. He winds up fathering a long line of kids that wind up taking on the title Riker in the end. You gotta look at the long term, man. Long term.
Yeah. Although Captain Picard is the one who's from France, so.
Yeah, but he's got an English accent, so who knows how that goes.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's the thing is like I see a lot of potential for this one. I see there's enough strings hanging off on this story that they could have made one heck of a good sequel, and still can.
Yeah, it's possible. Or a fan could write a sequel. I guess that's. I think
yeah,
that's
but
the
as
more
we learned
likely
from
thing.
Nintendo this week, they might get squashed on it.
Yeah.
If they try anything serious.
Yeah, like we say, you find your audience. You make something, and you might have a few barriers in your way, but you put it out on the internet.
I won't lie. Disney is much better at this sort of thing than a Nintendo.
Yeah.
I remember a lady. She did something called Pocket Princesses. Just nice little quick designs of the princesses, characters all kind of living together in a house and just their fun little interactions.
The Disney princesses?
Jasmine,
Snow White.
Yeah, all of them. Even
Cinderella.
Mulan, and all. Yeah, all the ones from the ladies from the movies, all tossed together, like a dozen of them, and all sorts of fun. And like what's her face from Brave winds up becoming really good friends with Mulan because they're both, they're warrior nature sort of thing.
Okay.
And she wasn't allowed to make any money off this because, she doesn't own any of the characters.
Yeah.
And Disney, she works for Disney, so she definitely wants to maintain a good relationship with Disney. Don't bite the hand that
she was an employee of Disney. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a bit different, but okay.
So Disney finds out about this sort of stuff, these Pocket Princesses, and you know what they do? They publish her stuff in a magazine. They get her permission. She makes up like a magazine sort of thing that's now running and being published by Disney. Disney gets the Pocket Princesses released professionally. They still own the intellectual property rights. She gets to put out stuff she wants in more than just like single image sort of pictures.
Yeah, and I guess they're already paying her because she's already an employee, so
they get to put her in something she's really rocking out on.
Yeah.
And bada bing, bada boom. Everyone wins. Yeah. Nintendo could really learn a lesson from this sort of stuff.
Oh yeah, Nintendo about the Samus thing.
Yeah, with the Metroid sort of thing.
Yeah.
They could have, if they had turned it into something like this, they could have gotten so much goodwill. Disney did the best thing for everybody.
Yeah.
And so, hooray! And so, yeah, like I say, Disney's much better on this sort of stuff. So I suppose if someone out there, if you're inspired by what we spoke about, like by all means, take our plot lines that we found, for the story, come up with, Beauty and the Beast 2, and, maybe submit it to Disney, maybe try and get their attention, because Disney does the right stuff. Now, they've proven they can do it at least once. So, like, just don't try and make any money off it and present it in the best possible light. And who knows, maybe you put out the movie, the sequel that the first story effectively demanded for those who were watching it, as critically as I have been watching it.
All right. Yeah.
So yeah. So because I think it's enough of stuff there, like, including the one person that wound up like going off against it. Maybe he's like an old hermit crab. That's how Gaston learns more about the thing. Like the guys out there sticking around. Maybe he's the guy who fishes Gaston out of the river. He's been living at the bottom of like under like the underneath the castle effectively the entire time, because the castle's on like a huge hill and you got to cross like a bridge like to get to the thing, and then there's that ravine sort of thing with the creek going by underneath. Maybe he's been living down there. Maybe he's the one that saves Gaston, the one good guy. He got kicked out for it, or gal, whichever way you want to go about it.
All right.
I think there's enough characters that we've brought in and characters pre-existing. This, I guess, could be a really good thing.
Sure. Yeah.
And admittedly, like I know Disney's doing a lot of stuff with the CGI and the whatnot animation style, and it's looking good. But I did find a piece of classic love in my heart for the traditional Disney animation style that they presented in there, with a little bit of CGI for the background, like when they open up on the ballroom scene, that's CGI, whereas like Belle and Beast were drawn with traditional Disney style animation.
Oh, yeah.
I do love that. It was very nice to see again, and I wouldn't mind seeing it again. So there you go.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
I think we've got a little bit over time.
Yeah, so if people want to send like back, it's like, oh, hey, like in the Beauty and the Beast, the Christmas special, there's more presented about the Enchantress, cursing everybody. You should really see it. It gives you a better understanding. Josh was right all along. Watch it, Ryan. Send it. How can people like say those words to us?
Send us email at thesimulationist@gmail.com. is our email address. You can comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/thesimulationist, and you can like that page for more updates. Every episode gets posted there, as well as to our iTunes account where you can subscribe on iTunes. You can write reviews if you want to tell everybody how good this show is or how bad it is.
This show is awesome, except Ryan has clearly never seen the Christmas sequel, which explained everything. Noob.
Yeah, and give us as many stars as you think we deserve.
Plus one, because we need it.
5 would be fantastic. You can comment on our YouTube page, youtube.com/thesimulationist. The same files as these, the audio file that you're listening to now, it goes up on YouTube with a little image.
Alternative viewing style,
Yeah, it's another way you can comment there, and I will see it if you do. And
if it's convenient for you that way, that's what we get it set up for.
Way. Sometimes on mobile or whatever, who knows. Yeah. And any other podcatcher of your choice, you can always subscribe there. Follow me on Twitter at Josh_Trelaffin, TRESLAFFIN, and also find out
anything you tweet to him that you want to tell to me, he can relay it to me. Don't worry.
Yeah, if there's something I really need to tell Ryan.
Yeah.
And you can follow me there for also my live appearances in Victoria live comedy scene. So
very good. Very good.
Facebook. Yeah, that's all. I think that's all the things. Oh, and in real life, just, if you get a chance, tell a real-life friend. I'll share this podcast with him. That would really help us out.
Dude, this guy totally is thinking the same as you. He totally saw the same threads that you saw. You're not alone. Turns out I was the half-crazy one.
That's right. And we do have a Patreon page in case the urge strikes you. We don't charge for these podcasts. It's all free, but if you felt like helping out, that would be fine, too. Look us up on Patreon.
So, final thoughts. I'm happy I watched this movie again, and not just because it got a chance for my daughter to see some classic Disney stuff, because I saw a different movie than when I first watched it, and it's been so long since I watched it. I'm a different person now than I was back then.
Yeah.
And I can see, either I see more or I see more nuance. Either way, I'm quite happy about it.
Has it been 10 years?
Have
you been a beast and gone back?
Well, I don't think I've seen it since it was in the movie theater, where I watched it with my friends.
In the 90s.
Yeah, because we were young. That's what you do in a small town. You watch the Disney movies that come on in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I don't think I may have seen bits and pieces of it, presented here and there, online, but definitely not. Well, okay, I've definitely seen a few of the music, video stars, like the song.
Yeah.
Especially that one where Belle's, like getting the feast, I do
Yeah.
songs. They do.
And what Disney
yeah.
tends to do is put their movies in the vault for a while, so you actually probably won't be likely to see it until they re-release it.
On HD, DVD, Blu-ray, whatever style they're working.
Although occasionally, like, people will have it on VHS at their home, so...
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's like I probably could have got it for, like, 20 cents, at a, like a used, like a goods store.
Yeah.
We have a nice St. Vincent de Paul within walking distance. But I rented it from the library, because the library had it, so... But yes, I'm happy that I watched it because I was able to see so much more than the first time, and maybe it was because I was distracted by my friends the first time. Maybe it's because I'm more of a person now than I was then. I'm more mature. I'm able to see these layers.
Yeah.
Maybe because I was a teen, and they do show a lot of décolleté in the series, the movie. The cleavage of the ladies. I won't lie, there's a decent amount of cleavage shown in that.
That interested you back in the day?
Like a small town. It was the 90s. That would have put me in my teens. So probably yes.
Yeah, okay.
I would have paid a lot of attention to the cleavage.
I don't recall noticing that at all, but...
I don't know. I'm just trying to extrapolate on who I used to be. I'm like, well, let's see. That age. Yeah. If not cleavage for me, maybe cleavage for the lady I took with me to see the movie. I don't know. It's been a very long time, and I had a hard time remembering it. So I'm glad I got a good refresher on the movie in a much more pure sense.
All right.
Yeah. Woo. Well, until next week, I'm still Ryan Kirkby.
And I've been Josh 11.
Take care.
Send money.